You've pulled into a gas station so many times that you've stopped seeing it. You park under a steel roof the size of a basketball court, you pump your gas, and you leave. The whole thing takes 4 minutes, and your brain files it as nothing. But at some point, you've probably felt the weird wrongness of it. That enormous flat roof, massive columns, bright lights burning at 2 in the morning. For what? To keep you from getting a little wet? That's a lot of engineering for a drizzle. And here's what nobody tells you. The rain has almost nothing to do with it. Why not just rain? The assumption almost everyone makes is that a gas station canopy is a big umbrella. One structure, one job. Keep the customer dry. That's not what it is. A gas station canopy is an engineered overhead system built to handle 5 completely separate problems at once: weather, vapor, vehicle clearance, lighting, and brand signage. Weather happens to be on that list, but it's the least technically interesting one. It's also the only one you can feel. The other 4 are invisible. You've never noticed them failing because they almost never do, but every one of them is running every time you pull up to a pump, and once you see them, you can't unsee the whole structure. How does vapor escape? Here's the part that catches most people off guard. Gasoline doesn't just sit there. The second a fuel nozzle slides into a gas tank, invisible vapors start rising out of the opening. You can't see them, you can barely smell them, but they're flammable. And on a wide open lot with no roof overhead, wind can carry them anywhere, toward a hot engine, toward the person pumping gas 3 feet away, toward a tiny static spark from a fleece jacket. That's where the canopy comes in, but not in the way you'd expect. Look closely at the edges of any gas station roof. There are no solid walls, just open gaps running along the sides between the roofline and the tops of the columns. Most people assume that's just how it looks. It isn't. Those gaps are a ventilation requirement. They're there so vapors can float upward and out, instead of sinking down to ground level where you're standing. Picture the vent hood above a kitchen stove. It doesn't seal the smoke in or blast it away. It just gives rising air one clear direction to travel. The canopy works exactly the same way. What looks like a roof is also quietly a vapor management system. So the roof isn't about rain, and the open edges aren't a design flaw, they're the whole point. But that still doesn't explain why every canopy across the country is built to the exact same height. That answer comes from a vehicle most drivers never think about, and it changes everything about how this structure was designed. Why are they all tall? Here's something worth noticing next time you pull in. That roof above your head sits somewhere between 14 and 16 feet off the ground. Your car needs maybe 6 feet of clearance. A tall SUV needs 7, so why is the canopy more than double the height it needs to be just for you? Because the canopy wasn't built for you, it was built for the fuel delivery truck. Those tankers that restock the underground tanks. They run 13 to 14 feet tall. If the roof is even a few inches too low, the truck can't pull in. And if the truck can't pull in, the station runs out of gas and closes. So the canopy has to be tall enough for the biggest vehicle that ever needs to fit underneath, not the average car in the parking lot. That one rule set by one type of vehicle becomes the minimum height for every gas station canopy across the entire country. It's why a station in rural Montana and a station in downtown Miami look almost exactly the same height from the road. It's not a corporate-style guide, it's a physical constraint that doesn't care where you live. What lights the pumps? Gas stations never close, which means someone is always pulling up to a pump at 2 in the morning, and they need to see exactly what they're doing. The pump screen, the nozzle going into the tank, any fuel hitting the ground the moment it happens. Lighting an open outdoor space that evenly all night long is a harder problem than it looks. That's where the canopy quietly earns its place. Lights mounted to the underside of the roof point straight down, and the flat ceiling above them bounces that light outward in every direction, spreading it smoothly across the entire pump island. It works on the same principle as a white ceiling in a classroom. The surface above you isn't the light source itself. It's what turns a single beam into something that fills the whole room without leaving any corner dark. Without the canopy, you'd need tall floodlight poles at each corner, which cost more, cover less, and still leave shadows right where people are standing. The roof solves the lighting problem almost as a side effect of existing. Where did Canopies come from? For the first 4 decades of the automobile, gas stations looked nothing like what you're used to. There was no canopy, no roof, no shelter of any kind above the pumps. And nobody missed it, because nobody needed it. When you pulled up to a station back then, an attendant in a uniform walked out to your car, pumped your gas, checked your oil, wiped down your windshield, and took your money. You never stepped outside. The service came to you, which meant the weather never became your problem. That system worked smoothly for decades, and in 2 states, Oregon and New Jersey, it still does. Both states kept full-service fueling as a legal requirement, making them the last places in the country where the original model never changed. But everywhere else, something happened in 1947 that quietly rewrote the rules. A single gas station in Los Angeles decided to try something different. Let customers pump their own gas and charge them a lower price for it. The idea caught on almost immediately. Other stations watched the lines form and started copying the model, and by the time the 1970s arrived, self-service had become the standard across nearly the entire country. The problem was that removing the attendant didn't just change who pumped the gas, it changed everything about what the customer had to deal with. Suddenly, you were the one standing outside, alone, holding a fuel nozzle in whatever the weather happened to be that day. Scorching heat in August, freezing rain in January, pitch darkness at midnight with no one coming out to help. The station had handed you a job and left you completely exposed while you did it. Someone had to solve that. The pumping area needed shelter, it needed light, and it needed the brand names somewhere drivers could spot from down the road. A single steel-framed canopy handled all 3 at once, not because stations wanted to improve the experience, but because self-service had created a problem that couldn't be ignored. The canopy didn't exist until the attendant disappeared. Then it had to. What else uses this? Once you know what a gas station canopy is actually doing, you start noticing the same logic in structures you've passed under your entire life without thinking twice. The canopy over a fast food drive-through lane runs the same 4 jobs: weather cover, height clearance for delivery vans, lighting for the menu board and cameras, and brand colors on the edge panels. You've never thought of it as an engineering decision because to you, it's just where you order your food. But the thinking behind it is identical to what's hanging above every gas pump in the country. Toll plazas work the same way, so does the small canopy above a parking garage ticket machine. So does the drop-off overhang at an airport, sized for buses. The structure changes, but the logic doesn't. And now that same template is being rebuilt for the electric era. Charging stations going up across the country use the same canopy. Same clearance, same lighting, same weather cover, except the roof is also lined with solar panels generating the electricity that flows into the cars parked beneath it. The design didn't change, it just got a new power source. The next time you pull under one of these roofs, anywhere for any reason, you're standing inside something engineered to solve 5 problems at once. You never notice because it never failed. If there's something you walk past every day and wonder about, drop it in the comments. We read every single one, and the best suggestions make it into future videos. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.